Buenas, buenas, buenas. I'm Vanessa, the host of the Latina Writing Comunidad podcast, a podcast empowering women to break barriers, embrace passions, and tell their stories. Each episode, I'll unlock the power of stories by exploring popular themes and use them as starting points for insightful conversation. Be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Today, I have my dear friend Hady Mendez. Hi, Hady.
Hola.
She's a New York-based best-selling author, Latina speaker, ERG coach, and founder and CEO of Boldly Speaking, a company that is transforming the professional experiences of underestimated professionals by providing them with the skills to rise and thrive in the corporate world or in whatever path they choose. So welcome, Hadi. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited to be here and I love seeing your face. You got good energy today, so I think this is going to be a very rich conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel my best, I think, when I'm podcasting because I can edit it, right? Like anything that I say, if I say something ridiculous or dumb or wrong, it's okay because I can just edit it later, like this week when I'm editing. So
Well,
it
that's
adds,
no, go ahead. Finish your sentences. I wanted to say respond to that.
it just adds a level, I guess, safety that I
Yeah.
don't feel that I have when it's like live and there's like people, even though there
Yeah.
are people in the audience, like it's like my friends and they like me, obviously. So it's like, it's all good. We're having a good time.
I was going to say I do two LinkedIn live shows each week. One is for Latinas and the other one is for ERG leaders, and mine is all live. So, but I've gotten to the point where I'm quite comfortable, and it works out. I don't know. It might not be perfect, but I think it works out. But I also love the conversations, and this is my happy place, like having a one-on-one conversation with someone, and talking about something as nice as this book. I think, this is, I'm ready too. I'm feeling really good as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned your LinkedIn lives because last night I was doing my puzzle and I was like, who do I want to like hang out with right now? Like if I could hang out with anyone. And I was like, let me see what Hadi's up to. And I listened to your LinkedIn live with um I don't know why it's tripping me up. Haiti? I can't
Heidi.
Heidi. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
she's so
so
good. Heidi's good. I'm
and I
glad
can
that's the one you watched.
and I can say both of your names independently, but Hadi and Haiti
Heidi.
Heidi, it's like a tongue twister. I don't know, like
No,
whatever.
I
But
acknowledged it in the beginning of the call. I'm like, we're two different people. It's Hadi and Heidi, Heidi and
yeah.
Hadi. But yeah,
So it
she's
was
amazing. I love her to death, and she was a great conversation partner.
yeah, and I was just like it was like 10 o'clock and I was doing my little puzzle, hanging out with you and her. But today we're here to talk about the book Tias Primas. And so what I try to do at the beginning of the episode is I try to do like a little book synopsis, especially when I'm doing these types of book reviews where it's like informational. If we're doing like a rom-com or a horror like story, they're not going to tell you what this book is about. Like you have to read it and take what you want, right? But we're talking about these informational things, they'll literally either in the beginning or at the very end or in like the author's notes, they'll literally say like this is why I wrote the book. So as I was reading, I actually found three separate little sections that I think really describe the book. So
Okay.
I'll share that and then you can obviously like we'll talk about it. So I got this book actually because I don't buy my books. Like I'm like a Libby girl. I'm a library girl, but I got this book from Pen and Honey. She's a Latina-owned indie bookstore dedicated to diversifying the literary landscape. And if you're gonna buy a book from anywhere, I think that you should buy from her and not from the other terrible websites that we buy books from.
Yeah,
Um,
I bought mine from the bookstore where I work. It's an independent bookstore in my town.
You
So
see, perfect. Let's
same.
do that. More of that. So there's that shameless plug. But so in page two of this book, Tias and Primas, she wrote what's her name? Prisca.
Prisca.
Yeah, Prisca. She said that she wrote this book to rip these tias and primas from the clutches of sexism, homophobia, fat phobia, colonization, stigmatization of mental illnesses, male gaze, and rape culture. She's
Woo!
writing what?
I said, woo!
I mean, right? Like just with
Yeah.
that mic
Woo.
drop, that's it. Like I feel like that's what a lot of us are out here trying to do. She wrote that book to paint these women as she saw them and as she thinks about them as an adult, and she wants the world to see them. So she's being very intentional about how she's describing these women. In page 7, she says this book is a critique of family units that limit our growth while taking into account that these patterns are a direct result of living trauma through national and state abuses, colonization, wars, and institutionalized sexism, racism, and xenophobia. Another mic drop. And this third one really, really resonated with me because I feel like this is something like I tell my friends straight up that this is what I do. But when I'm posting on social media or I'm marketing or I'm like on my platform in another way, I'm not exactly as direct as this. But on page 12, Prisca says she's democratizing knowledge. She's repackaging the theories and principles in story form, and it translates them for folks who can't, or won't read academic books.
Mm,
So, like, do we see why like we needed to talk about this book?
yeah. It's and the thing, and it's fun too. So just to say that I subscribe to all the things that you just mentioned and that she talks about and that goal that she's trying to achieve. And at the same time, it was really fun reading, and you could see yourself and you could see your tias and you could see your primas, your mother, your abuela, whoever. And it was really fun too. So I just want to note that, like kind of tease that out, that it was a really fun read as well,
Oh, for
even though it
sure.
was a serious topic.
Thank you for bringing that up because I feel like you know, when I talk about things or on my platform, I feel like I focus on the heavy stuff because I'm like, yeah, we know all the fun stuff. We get the silly stuff and the just having fun and lighthearted stuff. And I tend to just focus on the heavy stuff. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you highlighting that it was really fun and I enjoyed the book. It
Yeah.
wasn't like Defectors with Ruby, the last podcast where it's like, that was not fun at all.
No,
Like that
that's not
was
fun.
heavy and sad and scary
I bet.
and so very, very different vibes.
Yep.
So you don't need to be afraid of this book. But basically the book, she goes through many different archetypes and she
Mhm.
shares her personal connections to each archetype. She describes them. She goes into the societal and like political context of them, and like what makes them that way. And what I really, really like this was like I don't know, just very eye-opening. And I thought that it was very caring of her to do this, is that at the end of each chapter, she wrote to the family of this tia or prima,
Yeah,
dot,
I
dot,
like
dot.
that. I like that too.
And it was like how to care for her and like how to treat her and like keep
Yeah.
in mind, she went through X, Y, and Z. It just seemed like very kind of her to add that. And then another part at the end, at the end of each archetype, she's like, to this type of Thea. And then she goes ahead and tells her what she needs to hear. Like, you're safe,
Yep.
people care about you. Like,
Yep.
it was really nice. So, with that being said, I kind of which archetype do you think resonates with you?
Oh, that is such a good question. And I have to tell you that when I started the book, I was on a mission to figure out who I was. And I'm like, if there's a cool tia, that's me, because I'm the youngest sister. So technically, I'm the closest in age to my oldest niece. So
Yeah.
like, and actually, we are very close. So that's fact. So I'm like, I got to be the cool tia for sure. But there was no official cool tia. However, there were some other tia. So I'm gonna tell you, there's four tias that I identify with, and I don't think
Okay.
you're going to be surprised by any of them. You
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
The widowed tia is one. The tia loca, the tia escandalosa. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I feel you, sis. Like I was like, yes. And then the childless tia. Those are the four that I identify with the most, and for different reasons. And I have excerpts from each of the chapters if we want to dig deeper into any of those, because there were some parts that were just so, so, so well written and just really spoke to me.
Yeah, share. I'd love to hear what you have highlighted and
All
what you
right.
want to share with the group.
I'm gonna start with the widowed Tia because I think that's the one I identify with the most. And it's interesting because I'm not a widow, but I am twice divorced. There is a Tia divorciada, but I didn't really identify with that Tia as much as I thought I would. I identified more with the widowed Tia. So I'm gonna tell you kind of why. So
Okay.
if anybody has the book, I'm reading from page 60 and 62. So I'm reading from page 60, the first paragraph there. And so this is how it says. It says, so again, this is the widowed Tia. So the Tia Viuda. This Tia has no remorse in showing her happiness. She walks like someone who is at peace with where life has taken her and with what life has taken from her. She has no need to apologize. She did nothing wrong. She is due her independence and she knows it. We all know it. That is what is so enthralling about watching her, the self-governance of it all. And first of all, I want to just say that Prisca has a beautiful way of writing. Like she's very poetic in the way she writes, like everything. It's not just like you want to highlight the whole book because the whole book is like so good and everything she says is very, very like deep and profound. But like I love what that says. And then I'm going to read you the next little piece because this one also spoke to me. My widowed Tia speaks clearly about her joy and what it means to feel this independent. No one asks her if she will marry again, and if someone does, they're usually younger or unmarried themselves, so it's easily dismissed. They do not know yet. She did that already. She does not have to do that again. Banish the thought of taking this grand liberation from her. Her emancipation feels precious to every woman she meets. We are all fascinated. Ooh, it's just like sends chills down my body. But it's so good. And I feel like that is where I'm at in my journey, that I'm happy, that I'm joy filled, that I already did that. I'm good. I don't need to do that again. I'm in my happy place now. And, hopefully that I'm sharing that with other people and that people see it. And anyway, so that Thea really was the one that resonated with me. And I loved how she described her. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, I love that sh through the widowed Thea and that like excerpt of the book, it's like it really proves that your happiness and your will for life does not have to center around men.
Yes.
It's like that's, and it's when we think of it that way, and our ultimate goal and the number one best thing that we can do is to get married, um, it puts a lot of pressure on it. And then I think we might bend and fold at our boundaries for the sake of getting this accomplishment that might not even be aligned with us. And like Prisca talked about that she got married and she had that like value that she was like, oh, I'm married now. And it adds that level of respect and credibility to her because she
Yeah.
was married. And
Yeah.
then when she got divorced, she was like shamed for it. And it was this
Yeah. She
big
was a
negative
leper.
thing. And it's, yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. And so I appreciate her writing the book about it and calling it out, and obviously you living it, because we need to normalize those things, right? Because the alternative, sure, are several women probably like on this call, right, that love their husbands and they're happy, they're great, amazing. But then there are a lot of women who aren't, and they feel stuck, and it takes a lot of courage to leave a marriage, and it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of safety. It's extremely dangerous. Like
Yeah.
over 40% of women fall to poverty when they get divorced, you know? So it's like this big like feat, this big thing that they have to do. And so I love that you talk about it so openly. And I always like when people tell me they're divorced or whatever, I'm like, congratulations. Like
Yeah,
that's
for real. It's a celebration.
it is a celebration. It's also shitty as hell. Like I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
you
like
it's grief followed by self-discovery, followed by joy and freedom and
exactly.
growth, a lot of growth.
Yeah.
I want to respond to what you were talking about because I think Prisca does a really good job of calling out very consistently throughout the book misogyny and homophobia, especially because there is a chapter for La Tia Queer, and she talks about her with a lot of love, which I really appreciated. And yeah, she was really close with her, as it turns out. And it wasn't a blood tia either. It was like a vecina, basically, like a family friend, but was like always like kind of on the outskirts. And it was because she was queer, and everyone kind of frowned upon it. But I think what I really like so misogyny, it's around us. We live in this country. We live in this world. It is everywhere. I think what Prisca did a nice job of is talking about internalized sexism, which is what we as women feel towards other women and how we make other women feel about the choices they're making. And I feel like that she did a very nice job of calling out. And we don't do enough of that because a lot of the pressure and a lot of the judgment and a lot of the shame is coming from other women. It's not coming from men. Like men, we got problems with men also, and
Yes.
and that's fact. And then aparte de eso, we also have problems with women who are constantly judging and excluding and including and making comments and making people feel less than or on the outskirts and things like that. So I think she did a very good job of that. And I feel like that was very important to call out because culturally we do that and that's kind of accepted.
Right.
Esa es gorda, esa ya se casó dos veces, ella whatever, like
Yeah.
that the kitchen talk and all the comentario, we do that very naturally. And we have to look at how the things we say and how they land and how harmful they can be to other women because I think a lot of us want to be supportive of other women, but there's a little bit of tension there with the shaming and the judgment.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because in my family, we I don't have any haters. Like my tias, like they don't say anything with like malintent or like judgment and like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. A lot of it is like, oh my God, like, you know, like money. What's your money gonna be like? It's a lot of it is like based and protection.
Yeah.
So like when they say things like, oh, like, are you sure you want to do your podcast? Like, it's not them being a hater of me in this path that I want to go down, which I think some people can take it that way. It's like, no, they're scared that I'm going to be financially dependent on my boyfriend. And then what if he leaves me? Then I'm going to be broke and tirada and like have to go crawling back to my mom's house. It's like a lot of it is for protection. But to your point, some people are haters. Some women, like they feel like they're getting something out of like shaming other women, and it's like we have to be mindful of that. And I mean, I'm intentional to not be around people like that. So it's like if you're like that girl, especially in 2025, like we do not need to talk. Like we do not need to be in the same corner because that's not the type of person that I want to interact with. And I also wish them healing. Like I hope that they get over that.
And I don't think, uh, at least in my mind, the way she described it, I don't think a lot of it comes from people that are haters. I think it comes from people who love us, and maybe that makes it hurt even more. But
Right.
little comments too, like "nena tan gorda," or I remember when I was married to my first husband. And I was like kind of chatting with my mom about it. And she was like, oh, but you need to, tiene que cocinarle más or spend more time with him or whatever. And I'm not saying it was bad advice, but it was also, it didn't address my concerns, the things that I was bringing up, which were also valid. So yes, maybe
Right.
he has some valid concerns that he wanted me to spend more time with him, which was the case in that scenario. But also I was entitled to a little bit of my time for myself too. And I never got validated in that way. It was just like, well, make sure that, he has food when he comes home. It was like, okay, what
Yeah.
about me? I don't know. Like, I feel it's a both and I think it
Yes.
comes from people who love us with very good intentions, but that doesn't mean that just because it's people who love us and good intentions that it is actually that it is providing us the support and love and acceptance that we need all the time.
100%. And something that I've come to terms with is that I'm not gonna get that support from my mom. Like, I don't tell her issues in my relationship because we are so not traditional in any sense of it that it's like, ¿pa qué? Like, just so that she can tell me, like, oh, you're not making any money, so why are you doing that? Like, have kids. Like, you're 33. Like, that is the shit that she would say. And instead of me having the conversation and getting frustrated with her and like beating my head against the wall, right? Because it's not, she's what, 65, 66 years old. Like, I don't know that I'm gonna change her mind on her values, right? So it's like, okay, yep. And it's like, oh, like, do you work? Yep. Do you pay rent? Yes, I do, girl. Like, whatever is gonna make you feel good and whatever is gonna make our relationship and our time together positive, because I feel like I did spend a lot of my like 20 years of my life, maybe more like 15 years of my life, trying to have a positive relationship with my mom. And it didn't work. So we're just not going to talk about my personal life. And we're going to talk about my nieces, who I definitely want to talk about, like myself and being a tia. But just to continue talking about my mom, it's like we only talk about my nieces. It's like what did they have at school? What sport? What doctor appointment? What did they eat? Should we take them to the park? Like, because it's just like a neutral thing. And it's unfortunate. It upsets me. I wish it wasn't that way. But just to protect my own peace and like,
Yeah.
have a good time with my mom. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
fight with her, you know what I'm saying? So,
You're right. It's a definitely a generational
yeah.
difference. And yeah, my mom grew up in a different time. And that time was when you got married and you had children and you had dinner ready for everybody at a certain time.
Yep.
And your life was being a mother and a homemaker and a wife. And that was your life, that you really didn't have much else. My mother never had a bank account. She never had a credit card. She never learned to drive. It's a different time. And I will tell you though that like my sisters and I are completely the opposite. And I don't think, so just to, wrap up the conversation about my mom, I think she wanted all that, but it wasn't appropriate, so to speak, for people like her to want that. So she made sure we all got it and she made sure we wanted it. She was like, this is how it's going down for you. You're getting a college education. You're going to have your own profession. You're going to make money. You're going to learn to drive. You're going to make decisions for your life and your happiness and your peace. But she didn't do that. And
Yeah.
so she didn't have that for herself. And like I said, parts of me wonder, I would only say I wonder if she did want it, but it just wasn't like, appropriate or like the kind of thing that people in her time could really, I don't know, get away with wanting and
Right.
having. And but we all did. And I have three sisters, so there's four of us. And you know, we all were professionals, did our thing. Um, and one of my sisters passed, but the rest of us my other two sisters and I, so three of us that remain, we're all single. We all have our profession. We're all, taking care of family, but also taking care of ourselves. So I think there's a way to pass down that strength
Yeah.
and that courage and that boldness, even if like in my case, my mother, that's not the life she had, but she still was able to plant that seed within us to have the desire for that. I
For
think it's
sure. And that's something that I think Esther helped me like reframe was like, my mom in Colombia, it was a one bedroom home and there were 9 kids. So it was like my grandparents, their bedroom was the living room. And so when I talk about my mom and I'll be upset and frustrated that, she doesn't prioritize her mental health or her anxiety and stuff like that, and I want that for her, it's like, we have to reframe it that they did accomplish things. They did do things that they wanted to do. They had, your mom had 4 daughters that they're able to be independent and they don't have to rely on a man for food and shelter and
yep,
safety. Like that's a huge accomplishment.
yep,
And then now that we have this opportunity to do whatever the fuck we want.
yep.
Like that's amazing. Like if we
And in
wanted
one
to
in just
drop,
one generation, it wasn't,
literally.
like that happened the next generation.
Exactly. And that's
Hmm.
such a big thing. And so that's a lot of the reason why I do the things that I do. It's like my mom did what she did and she accomplished so much. Like she came to a whole new country, like she was by herself.
Yeah,
She stayed in a house, one of those houses with like 10 bedrooms. She rented a room, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm gonna start a podcast. I'm gonna start a business. Like what? Like this is all like nothing compared to my mom. And I don't know, just keep carrying the torch in the way that we want. I
yeah,
think is the key here through this conversation. But yeah, so I having that in mind, like when I talk about my nieces, because I'm child free. I think that Gigi, she does a really good job of highlighting that childless kind of implies that you're missing something, that something is absent. And I don't feel absent of child love and connection and responsibility at all. Am I a parent? Am I a mom? Obviously not. But I feel a huge responsibility to my nieces to be very present and very active in their lives. And so I feel like I'm child free because I get to hang out with my nieces whenever I want. I get to go to their school stuff and then I get to drop them off back home, like, or, like whatever. Just any of the difficult things of being a parent, I don't have to do, but I get all the fun stuff. And it was funny because I feel like a few of the archetypes resonated with me and I feel like I've shifted through them. So I feel like I used to be the young Tia where I lived at home, I was going to school, I was dating, several guys and like my nieces would be there while I'm doing my makeup and like not to, I wouldn't overshare with them because they're
Mhm.
babies,
Yeah.
but I would say, like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with a friend, like a guy, he's a friend. And like, oh, is he your boyfriend? Well, I don't know yet. We'll see how he behaves. Like, he has to earn that. So it's
Hmm.
like,
That's really
like,
good.
yeah, trying to normalize that and just be like growing up with them and telling them in a way that was appropriate for them, that I had no idea what I was doing and I was just figuring out life and that um I feel like one of the things that makes my relationship with my nieces, well, there are a few things, but one of the biggest things is that I humanize myself to them. Like, I don't pretend like I'm this perfect person or I'm right, you're wrong. I have all this authority. You have to listen to me. Like, I break a lot of rules with my nieces, mostly because of like safety. Like one of the things that comes to mind is like crossing the street. I don't know if you've crossed the street with a child, but they don't want to hold your hand. They're
Mm.
like, no, I'm a big kid. I don't need to hold your hand. Okay. So if I know that, then what if while mom is like showering and dad is cooking breakfast, what if you by accident get outside as a 3-year-old and you're going to cross the street? So what I do is I notice these things and I practice them doing it alone. Like I'll give them a knife, a full-blown an adult knife, and have them practice. And I'll show them the technique for cutting
Wow.
with a knife. I'll show them, okay, girl, little girl, you're so grown, you want to cross the street? Let's test it. Like, I'm gonna stand right next to you, and you tell us when we're gonna cross the street. And literally the other day, my niece didn't look when she was crossing the street. She's 5 years old. And so
Mm.
I had to yell at her and raise my voice and be very stern. And I scared her, and she got a little teary-eyed. And I was like, sorry that I scared you, but like, we were about to get hit by a car.
Yeah,
So
girl.
it's like I try to, and like the parents, they do their own thing. They're instilling, all these healthy habits and reading in school and all those things. But I try to do things like when you break the rule, are you going to do it safely? And your parents don't really need to find out. Like I try to be like a confidant with them too. Like,
Mm.
oh, mom said you can only have one cookie. What if we had two? Like, do you want to? And they sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they're like, no, mommy said only one because it'll give us a tummy ache. And I'm like, okay, like girl, if that's what you want. But also if you want a second one, I'm just gonna leave the second one here.
Vanessa.
Like I like to push the boundaries with them because I think it's good, like, especially as they age. I'm thinking, like, if she sneaks out at night and something bad happens, she has to know that I'm gonna fucking, if I can't pick you up, I'm calling you an Uber. And, like, if
Yeah.
I can't, I'm gonna call my friend Jane and she'll go pick you up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they have to have this trusting adult who has shown them from day one that I'm not gonna tell your parents that you can trust me and I'm not gonna judge you either because life is so scary. Like you know, parents like, no, you better not call me. Don't call me if, at midnight if you want to come home. And it's like, call me. I'll pick you up, girl.
Yeah.
I'll bring, you don't have to stay anywhere you don't want to be. You don't have to hang out with anyone you don't want to be
I
with.
love
Like,
that, Vanessa. That is very cool. You're the cool Tia. Too bad they didn't have that one because you're the cool Tia. Can I
yeah,
tell you what kind of Tia I am? Because I'm a Tia
yeah,
too.
yeah, go ahead.
And I'm not a mom, so I'm only, really the Tia is as close as I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah,
I My nieces and nephews don't really live near me per se, so I didn't really grow up in the same way you did, where I had them nearby and they could like kind of watch me, do my makeup or well, I don't really do makeup, but whatever, watch me
yeah,
get dressed or anything like that. I just didn't have that because especially like two of my sisters moved to California and I'm in New York, so it just wasn't a possibility. So But and I usually am very respectful of whatever my sisters say, because
Um,
otherwise it's trouble. So yeah, they're a feisty bunch. So I kind of respect and honor, and I'll give you an example. One of my sisters, she only would let her children watch movies from like this website, and the website was like affiliated with like, I don't know, I think it was like kind of church related, and it's like if it's on this list, you can watch it type thing. And they knew that already. By the time I got there, they were like, Titi, we can only watch movies from this website. Because I was like, oh, let's watch whatever. And they were like, well, we got to check to see if it's on the website. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I was just like, okay, whatever. Like that, she's the mother. I'm not gonna get in her Kool-Aid. But I do feel like a lot what I noticed over the years is that my nieces and nephews really watch what I do. And so they know and they notice when I do things differently than the way they've been taught. So, and they, and what I've done is like I kind of live my life. Like I'm just like I'm loud, I'm proud, I'm very liberal, I'm progressive, I'm, for I stand for certain things. I ended up going on mission to Bolivia for 2 years. I was working with incarcerated women and formerly incarcerated women. I've worked at a school as a community school director in the South Bronx, poorest congressional district in the United States. For me, my actions speak louder than the words that I could tell them. And so I'm living my life and I know they notice and I know they see it. And, sometimes they're like, oh, I did that thing. It kind of reminded me of the thing you did when you were in Bolivia, or I did this thing. And I was wondering if, what do you think, Titi? Because you have experience with that thing. And anyway, that's so low key, more low key because I just wasn't there physically all the time.
right.
And I've noticed that they notice what I'm doing. And so, that doesn't really change anything that I don't think I've ever changed anything that I've done. But I pay attention to that because I'm like, would it ever be something that I would be ashamed of? Or would it be ever something that I think is setting a bad example? Like, and to your point, I'm not hiding who I am. I'm not perfect either. So like, was I in Miami getting drunk in my 30s? I was. I was that
Yeah.
person. And it's like that's okay. Like it's not the end of the world if you do that. That doesn't make you a bad person. That's the thing that you do in your 30s and then you move on and you do other things. And anyway, so I feel like I try to just live my life in a way that I feel is setting a good example for them. And knowing that they were always watching me and paying attention to what I was doing. So were my sisters, by the way, and my brother-in-laws. Everyone was paying attention because I was the tia loca and the tia candalosa. And they were like, girl, I mean, they watching you, so you better check yourself. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I make intentional choices that align with my values. Thank you very much. And if every once in a while se me va la mano and I make a bad choice, that's also, I think, teaching them that we're not perfect and we're not always going to make good choices. But by and large, I feel like I live a life that I'm proud of and that I hope they can model their life after as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something I like it re really resonates with me where you're like, that they're watching. I think that's all kids, and especially with parents. I feel like parents try to like teach their kids everything's a teachable moment and they try to explain and talk to them and talk them through their feelings and stuff. And I get it. I'm not judging them, but it's like if you want your kid to regulate their nervous system, like you telling them to is not it. It's going to
Yeah.
be when you're pissed off, you're cut off, or something happens at work and you regulate your nervous system, like that's what they're paying attention to. And so, yeah, I think that's something too, is I try not to like do teachable moments. I try to just like live life how I want, change my mind, apologize. I say sorry to them. Like my one niece screamed at me like a crazy person and I yelled at her right back like a crazy person and then I was like fuck she's like 6 and I just create like screamed at a 6-year-old like what does that do so like not that day but like a couple days later I was like hey like I'm really disappointed in myself that I yelled at you like that like you don't deserve to be spoken to like that like it should not be no one should speak to you that way ever let alone like me I care like I'm top 3 your mom your dad your grandma me like top 4 people that are obsessed with you. Like, I'm really sorry. And she didn't care at all. Like, she was like, what? She's like, it's fine. She was like, I shouldn't talk to you that way. And I was like, accurate. And also, I shouldn't talk to you that way. And like,
Yeah.
I think that like a shift that I've had throughout my years is that I feel like when I was really young, my mom was like, don't do this. If I find out, you're going to be in trouble. You better get good grades because then I'm going to be mad at you. So it's like when I was really young, it was like I was doing things to avoid my mom being mad at me. And
Mhm.
then my little sister was born. And I'm 14 years older than her. We share a dad. So we have different moms. We didn't live in the same household. And so from 14 to like 20, I was like, well, fuck, I guess I have to go to college because this little girl, if I don't go to college, she's gonna be like, well, my big sister didn't go to college, so I don't need to go to college. And I'm like, well, so she should. So I was like, I guess I will. And like, just a lot of the things that I did was for her during that time. And then
Mm.
when my nieces were born, it was for them. And like within the last like 3 years, I think turning 30, it was like I should not be doing things for other people. Like that's doing a disservice for myself. Like I should be doing things for myself that make me proud and that I want to do. And if my nieces disagree or if it disappoints them, whatever, like that's not like the goal. And so that's something that I've really come to terms with is like it should really be about me and not about other people. And like what I don't know, like you know what I'm saying? Like I should center myself and my values, not my nieces, or my sister or my mom, because then it kind of you go against yourself sometimes.
Oh yeah, that people pleasing can be quite a trap. I think
Yeah.
it can set yourself up to just get the just seek the approval and the co-signing and but you're stealing the joy from your own life if
Yeah.
that doesn't happen to align with the things that make you happy and bring you joy. So for sure I think all of us kind of start off in that place because that's we want to be obedient, like mommy's like, oh,
Yeah.
esta es mi nena buena, or esta siempre sale tiene la nota buena, or whatever, like you want your family to be proud of you. And I actually write about this. I'm writing a book. It's
Yes.
coming out in the fall. And I talk about how I wanted to make my mother proud of me. She was proud of me, and I was deeply unhappy. Those two things can be true at the same time. And I needed to get closer to where she was proud of me and I was happy. Like, it doesn't, I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive, but, it was the thing that drove me. And I needed to kind of reframe it and say, how can I make her proud? But I need to also be happy because I'm the one living in my life and walking in my shoes every day. And it can't, it was not sustainable. It just wasn't fair to me. And by the way, it was coming from me. It wasn't coming from her. It was coming from me.
Yeah.
And so like that's the other thing to note, that we're in the driver's seat. It's our life. We get to design the life we want if we're brave enough to pursue the things that bring us joy and our passions. And so I got to that point. I feel like I got really close to that point. My mom is no longer with me, but I hope that she would be proud of the things that I'm doing. And my upcoming book is dedicated to her because I feel like even the way she was, how she lived her life, she still instilled a lot of desire for me to want to be like a jefa and to be like this powerful, strong woman. And even though, like I said, that's not how she showed up in the world, but I still feel she instilled in me the desire to want that. And I needed to chase and make it a reality because she did plant that seed. So then it was up to me to be like, okay, now it's my turn to step into the power that I have to make it a reality and to also and still make her proud. I still think she would be proud. I think she would be really excited that I have this book coming out. I think she would be.
I love that. I know that she's proud of you. I that resonates with me because my grandmother, she raised me. My mom raised me, and my dad's mother, so my white grandmother, she raised me, and she was born in 1932. Like, she didn't even have access to a credit card until she was 40 years old. That was 1974. She already had like a 20-year-old daughter at that point. Like it was her lifestyle or her experiences were so different that I often question myself like would she be proud of me, especially when I'm talking about, transgender rights or Palestine or Black Lives Matter. I'm like, girl, you're born in the 30s. Like, what was your stance on any of
Oh,
these
I know,
things,
I know my mom's stance on some of that stuff. It was not good.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
But
I love my
we
grandmother.
broke it. We broke some of those generational, I don't want to call them curses, but some of that generational mindset that I think was just like uninformed, and they had their set of experiences that formed their opinions and how they viewed the world. But I feel fortunate that I've had a bigger worldview and I could form a different opinion. You know, that is interesting that you bring that up. My mother was born 1935, so almost the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So very old school, very conservative mindset,
Yeah.
very she believed what I guess like what the media and the mainstream was saying and how they describe people. She believed it all. She drank the Kool-Aid. And
Right.
now we have the benefit of knowing more and being exposed to more. I mean, it is a different world right now than the world they grew up in. So
Yeah.
we have the benefit of that, and hopefully we're gonna lead the next generation into, a much better place. So
R-
hopefully we're serving as a good bridge into um women that are informed, that are educated, that have open perspectives, that are, open to seeing the world from different points of view. Like I think that's what's really required. And yeah. Um it's so interesting you say that because I'm like, oh God, if I think about that. But you don't know the amount of times I had to tell my mother who to vote for. And I'm like, this is why you want to vote for that person.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my grandmother, she had a child when she was 19 out of wedlock. So it was like 1951, and she was a single mom. So it's like, girl, like you better not be on the right side, like you better be progressive because like they're the ones that aren't judging you or want you to have access to support or, they don't care if you like marry someone else. Like it's interesting. Like a story that I think really describes my grandmother is that my dad and my uncle had like, those pickup trucks, how they have like, some of them have like this top on top of the pickup truck bed.
Yeah.
It's like a plastic
Yeah.
thing with like a
Like a
window.
tarpy thing.
Yeah, so they had that in the yard, and my grandmother was like, "You better move it. You guys better move it." Well, after several weeks, they never moved it. My grandmother went with a sledgehammer and smashed it into pieces and dragged all of the little pieces out of the yard onto the street and was like, "If you don't want to move it, I fucking moved it." And it's
Toma.
like I grew up with that story and many other stories. And it's like my grandmother, I saw her as an old woman, a grandma. She was very loving, very sweet. She spoiled the fuck out of me. Like it was ridiculous how spoiled I was like with her. And I use those stories today, where it's like, oh, like if you're not gonna do it, well, I'll do it. I can do it. Like I can
Yeah.
do anything. So it's like it's interesting to like wonder and then also use their power as like a guiding light as well. It's like complicated, I feel like, and I think it's normal. I don't think that,
Yes. It's
and I think
layered.
it's layered, and I think that this book really like describes that. Like it's not, I don't think you're gonna know anyone that fits one of the archetypes. We're gonna do several across and move through them, it's a lot.
Uh-huh. I was gonna say that I did not think that I fit neatly into just one archetype. It was
Yeah.
definitely the four that I mentioned. And it was the four that I didn't expect because I really thought I was gonna be young Thea, book smart Thea, divorced Thea. And then I read them and I was like, yeah, that ain't me. That's
Yeah.
definitely not me.
Yeah.
But I did love going back to the very beginning part of what you were talking about when you said the format that she used was fire because it was like, this is what that Tia or Prima is like. And now I want to, give you your flowers or just, acknowledge things about you. And then it's like, and now family, get like as an example, she talked about the matriarch, which was a really fun one. That was the first one, I think. And she talks about how that matriarch never gets to rest, never gets to focus on herself because she's always busy taking care of everybody else. And then she says in the book, matriarch, you need to rest because you're not going to have the fuel you need to give to everybody if you're not taking care of yourself too. So just remember that you also need to take care, be a little selfish and take care of yourself too, so
Yeah.
that you can be around to lead the family, so to speak. But yeah, Prisca's fire, man. She's such an amazing author. She brought everything together, the Latinidad, the like that what you just talked about, which is like the tension between who we are, who we should be, the things that we learn, the things we need to unlearn. Like it's all very complicated, but she kind of acknowledged all of it because it is messy. It's not just like black and white. It's very, 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 very gray. But I
Yeah.
do feel like if you tease out the main points, it's all about how, we need to be here for each other as women. We need to support each other. We need to give our tias and primas and sisters and mothers and abuelas their flowers because they're out here, I guess maybe teaching us lessons, maybe being a good example, maybe, taking one for the team. I love, oh, I think it's a tia or prima. I forget. It's like the street smart one. Do you remember that one? That
Yeah.
one was, that one was really fun because she was like, she knew everybody. She knew how to get shit done. She was like calling the hospitals, like, I need a bed for somebody, my grandma. Like, she was just like, she had all the hookups. I thought that was a really fun one. I'm not that person, but like I know people like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I know somebody like that in my life. And it was so fun to see some of my even friends. It wasn't just family members, but it was just like people in my circle. I saw them in some of these people, and it was really fun to see that. So you get to see the people in your life, plus you get to see yourself. And it's like you don't want it to end kind of thing.
No.
Like I didn't. It was like just 20? How come there's not more? We need like part
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned the lessons and seeing our tias and primas living, they teach us a lesson one way or another, whether it's something that you want to do or something
Yep.
you don't want to do. I
Yep.
don't know that I've ever told you the story of when we first met because we didn't actually meet. I saw
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Have I told you that story or no?
You put it on LinkedIn, so I kind of have an inkling, but tell me the story. I want to
Well, I
hear it.
didn't tell you all of it,
Okay, tell me all of it.
because I wanted to tell you not in person, but like face to face. So you were speaking at this Latina organization's tech conference,
Yep.
and it was a room, I don't know, maybe like 400 people. Is that
Yep.
about right? Like it was a very big
It
room.
was one of the main events. So it was up on the big
Exactly.
stage.
And I think it was a panel. Like
It
you were
was.
one of three, and there
Yep.
was, I don't remember their names, but I can remember their faces.
I remember it was three women and
Yes.
it was a guy at the end. And he was from
Yes.
the company where we were based, where we were. And then the other
Yes.
two women, I know them, they're from Morgan Stanley, and then me.
Yes, yes. And so at this point in my life, I had left teaching. I had this like life crisis. I never thought that I was going to leave teaching, and it was a very hard time for me. I was very low. And I was working for 1 year at a utility company processing banking account information. So it was like the complete opposite of education. It was
Yep.
not impactful at all. I rarely spoke to people. People would send me a document and I would upload the information into like our database and then send that to whoever needed to get it. And I was working 100% remotely. So my life had just completely shifted, and that company wanted us to go in person. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want to. This work is stupid. I don't need to. I can do it anywhere in the world. And you want me to go drive an hour and a half to work,
Yeah,
to
no.
sit in my cubicle freezing alone, and then drive an hour and a half home. Fuck that. So I was like, I need to find a new job. And so I went to that tech conference with the intention of like, fuck, I don't know how to find a new career. Like, how do I find a job? Like, how do I network and make connections? Because in teaching, you don't have to do that. You have your teaching degree, you apply to a job online, and there's such a teacher shortage. No one wants to be a teacher that you can just like get a job very
Yeah.
easily, like as a teacher, right? So I went to this conference, not this version that we know and love today. It was a much angrier version, a much more insecure version, scared, small, aggressive. Uh, I still love and care for her, but it's a very different version of what we know today, 2 years later. And so I'm at this event completely 100% alone. Mind you, it's a room full of, however many people. And it's like, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here, right? And you're on the stage. Everyone else is like super professional. Not that you're not professional. Let me finish my thought. But they fit this kind of mold of what we think professionalism is. They're speaking the way we think that professionalism should speak like, C-suite people should speak like. They're talking about things in the way that you would just assume and like almost cookie cutter. But then you're up there and you have, your little New York accent and like you're very Puerto Rican and very much like, this is who I am. I don't give a fuck. And I was like, this bitch is successful and sh on this stage getting paid hopefully money to right to be here. And I was like, if she can do that, why do I need to change myself and fit myself into a box, like be professional, follow directions, like follow the norms, don't question things. I've done that my whole life. I've been mad at myself for like questioning things. Like, why the fuck am I like this? But it's like then I saw you on stage living and being, you didn't change yourself. Like you were very much yourself. And it really like showed me it was one of the things that kind of like pushed me like, you don't have to hate yourself. You don't have
Mm.
to change yourself. You don't have to fit into a box. Like you can do whatever you want. At that point it was 2023 and like Trump had already been in office, and it was like if he can do that and he's a fucking idiot, then like I can
Mm.
do whatever I want. Here Hadi is being herself and taking up space and being super bold and authentic. And it was just one of the things that was very eye-opening for me to see you on stage. And I think it brought me to where I am. I definitely think it brought me to where I am, because you can have all the support that you want from your mom and your boyfriend. It's like, yeah, I know you guys love me, so of course you believe in me. But like, you like talking love into the room and being yourself was just like very refreshing and very empowering. So I
I
just
love that
appreciate,
story.
yeah,
I,
it was.
that's a good story. I remember one thing that I talked about in that story. It was I talked about the dicho, El santo que no me quiere con no le basta. And that
Mhm.
was to say that like, you're not for everyone. Cause I don't remember what the question was, but that was like, I felt like an appropriate answer. And like, I definitely felt the crowd was like, a refrán in a room, like with a corporate setting. What are we doing right now, Hadi?
You're
But
speaking
like, why not?
Spanish? There are people in the room who don't speak Spanish. There are white people. You can't speak
You can
Spanish in
Google
front of
it.
white people. Bitch, they can Google it. You want to know why? You don't know how many times I Google things every
For
day,
real, word.
constantly. Like what? Like you'll be okay. So I just really appreciated that, and
That
I know
was
that you
fun.
know that it's your work is impactful, but I mean, it's impacted me. So thank you for being you. And then obviously, you hosted a Latina Writing Comunidad session very early on. I think you were the second one after
Yep.
Ruby.
Yep.
Shout out to Ruby for doing that, sparking that. But then you obviously were super supportive. I think you've come to almost every single session. You're here right now. And so I just appreciate your support and like you've put me in rooms that I never thought that I would be in. You pushed me. And I don't know. I think that you see me for who I am, and that's huge, right? Like just that alone, like you don't even have to do anything. Just seeing me for who I am, period, is a huge thing, especially when, social media, you have to be a certain way on LinkedIn, professionalism, and it's like, I don't know. I just really appreciate knowing you and having you in my corner and being friends. Like it's dope.
Yeah, I love it too. I think you have a really unique quality about you. You're a community building, queen. You know what you're doing in this space. You're in the right space. I think you're doing something that really feeds your soul, and it shows. Like that's why it's so important for us to do the things that we're passionate about because we're gonna be so much more happier doing that, and we're gonna in turn be able to that joy can have a really powerful ripple event because everybody who I'm sorry, not ripple event, ripple effect. Because what
Yeah.
happens is everyone who kind of starts to be in your world is like, wow, like this is so much fun and this is cool. And how many people like the Latina writing comunidad has grown so much. And I don't even know if everybody wants to be a writer, but everyone just loves the community. The community is really good. And I hope that a lot of people are inspired to write their own book because that's really important too. So you're serving a lot of the role you're playing is really important in a lot of ways. So you deserve your flowers. And I will also say that we all need to be lifting each other up. That's our assignment as Latinas is to
Yeah.
see each other, see each like truly see each other and then amplify the work that we're doing. And we've talked about this before, Vanessa. If we can just live our life and never have to engage with anybody outside of the Latinx community, that's fine by me. That's fine by me. I had two Latina editors. I have a Latina PR person. I'm gonna have other Latinas as part of my author journey, and that's by design. and we should all aspire to see what each other are doing and see how we can support each other. And we are probably doing everything that each other needs to grow and prosper and succeed and thrive. I will say that, I work in a bookstore. I mentioned that already. And when I got there, I had just started reading Tias and Prim. No, I wanted to read Tias and Primas, and I said, "Can you special order for me?" And they did. And then they ended up ordering two copies in addition to the one they ordered for me, and they put it out there. And I wrote like a little, what they call a shelf talker to promote it. And then I sold them. And then they're like, "Oh, Hady, do you want us to order more copies of Tias and Primas?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm telling you, every time I have a shift, I sell a copy of Tias and Primas. The other book that I
Amazing.
sell is Plátanos a Love. Those are my two. I'm like, Tias and Primas, Plátanos. You got kids? Okay, I got you. Let's run to the Plátanos a Love. Okay, now you want something for you because you're gonna go to the beach or you're gonna just like read, or stay home because it's raining. Let me get you the book that you want." And I'd be sniffing out. I'm like, you brown? Okay, you
Yeah.
brown here. Tias and Primas. Yeah, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to read it." So, and now it's like a bestseller in my store anyway, thanks to me. And I'm like, I love that for us because I'm pushing our work. And if you have a platform or any influence, I hope that you choose to do that too.
Yeah, for sure. And even when no one's looking, or even in private, right? Like there's so many ways to support each other. It doesn't always have to be through money or through reposting things or, things like that. Like what you're doing, no one would know, no one would know these things. And it's impactful and it's appreciated. So
Publicly and privately.
100%.
What I'm hearing you say, and I
Yeah,
agree. You got to put all the Latinas in your network on blast,
for sure.
and then your chat. Bring the book with you on the train and be like, "I'm reading Tias and Primas," so people can ask you about it. I bring it to the coffee shop with me. I can't tell you how many people ask me. They're like, "What
Yeah.
are you reading?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you."
And also, I'm gonna be an author, so buy my book in September.
Yeah, buy
Thank
my book
you.
too. I actually have, it's so funny. My publisher sent me like a water bottle and it says ask me about my book. I haven't taken it out in public yet, but that but
Girl, you
it's good marketing.
today, you
It's
should
good
take
marketing.
it. Yeah. That'd be nice. So thank you so much, Hadi, for being with me today. The next episode is going to be on the book Latina Madrina: Stories, Lessons, and Hard Truths from a Brown Latina in Tech by Julissa Hermosen. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and leave a review. You can subscribe to my newsletter for more content like this. Thank you for listening. Bye.